Fahrenheit, 73 degrees Fahrenheit, 211,223 miles on the odometer. And it is April 11th, 2024. In Texas, they don't really have a Hollywood studio system. They have what's known as a white herb system. That's the Fat Albert. It's going very low. That thing's been going around. You can kind of hear it. The tree, it's below the tree line. Monster. Somewhere out there were footprints taken along the sandy shore of Lake Worth, and a musical was written by hippie mimes known as Lake Worth Monster, written and performed by Johnny Simons and Doug Ballantyne. They have a vinyl too. They have They have a few record vinyls. They used to sell them at a place called Hip Pocket Theater. All hippies with Navy backgrounds. All of them know ballet and mime and pantomime and puppetry. Some are world-renowned puppets, and some are world-renowned puppeteers. It's my little 8 Mile. If I were dedicating this to Eminem, the candy, not the rapper. Yeah, that one's mine. Intellectual property. The candy, not the rapper. But I'm doing a mile check, 3.6 right now. You gotta lose yourself in the bone, you gotta lose yourself in the... I might buy it. Mom's Spaghetti. Something about Stephen King. Or Jerusalem's Lot. Salem's Lot. Look at that. Yeah, my dad had this story about Jacksboro Highway when I came back from Maine. He had this long story about the Democrats and the Republicans. He talked about like all the crime that's on Jacksboro Highway. At the time I got back from Maine, I was working for a credit card company, but it was basically what it was. I sold credit card rates and the machines. We'll just say by happenstance, Whataburger got special permission to change over all their credit card rate machines, really their machines, which they would never get that approved because as a corporation, they use their own, they bring it in and they install it. But let's say there's a mom and pop place called Whataburger rather than Whataburger, and they said, yeah, sure, we'll change our credit card rate machines. Then I would make a little bit of money off that. Not a whole lot, but then you also make like a little small percentage off each transaction from that point on. Their credit card rate salesman. I worked Jacksboro Highway until Kia called me and wanted me to sell cars. I did not make a single penny doing the credit card rate machine. That was a job that I signed on to when I left Maine. I signed it online. I was hired online. Even signed the paperwork, did the W-2s. Everything was done online. Never met the manager. Heard about them. I probably talked to these people, those people over there. That Long John Silver's closed down, it looks like. Yeah, if you don't have the right credit, there's a Rice Express. If you don't have the right credit card machine, yeah, you could get, behind. Especially nowadays with Apple. People are like, yeah, I'd like to use Apple. Back then, this was probably 2000 and pretty much 13. It's right before I married my second wife and started a family. Back then, if you didn't have Apple, then they're like, well, I can only use Apple. Is that good? And people are like, well, I don't have that one set up yet. Because people didn't have Apple cards. They just used their phone, which was the NSF touch. I forgot, I always say that wrong. But it's a type of touch that you do on the phone where you touch the phone and it scans it and pays for it. Nobody really had that. They all have it now. That they have it over there, they have it over there. Back then, nobody had it. So someone came through here and made a little killing. But I couldn't get anyone to really sign on. I could get them to show interest, and then I would fax that interest. I think it was actually faxed. I'd fax the interest, which was like a piece of paper that had their information, their address, and they would go back to the offices in Oregon. Supposedly the guy that was running it, he got in trouble with something and had the CEO. I think there were some places over there. There was actually a skate park, an indoor skate park over here, right up here to the right, about 200 or 300 yards to the right. He said yes. He's like, yeah, I'll change it over. Yeah, he was like totally yes. So he was ready to do it, but I could never go back in time to catch him to follow up on the paperwork. And I was going around trying to do like 10 sales in one day. You only had to do like one a week to survive. You make like $1,000 off just, like literally it would turn into like $1,000 off just one yes, and then they committed to it. And then they got the credit card machines in there. Now, you're responsible for receiving the credit card machines, going in there, plugging them in, turning the power on, and making sure they work. They weren't hard to all they had to do is they had to connect to their internet. And it was like hooking up a modem, and people do that through the mail, nowadays. Not everybody does. Some people have a technician come in and look at it. They had people that could follow up. It was right here. It was a skateboard park. There's no way it's probably still there. It was right near where those washer and dryers were there, though. They were still selling washer and dryers. It was literally like right there. I wonder if it's still there. It was a little tiny skateboard shop with a little tiny ramp inside. The guy was skating and selling skateboards. You can rent those places and sell stuff out of it. He was trying to get into the skateboard business. He was probably a semi-professional skater. Don't remember his name, nothing. All I know is that he said it was cool to hook up the machines. I said, they had to pay, to get it all going. I don't know the pricing or anything. But the credit card rates, how it works is that machine has a certain rate on it. So every time the card was swiped or tapped, because these had the taps on it at the time. You could tap the phones and stuff. So you could just like tap it. Then you would get a small percentage, not a whole lot. But you would still get for the sell. You'd still get the money for the sell. And then they would just, I don't know, at the time, I guess they had, at that time, they had all my banking information, everything. The CEO thing was dealing with like licensing. And, it's like almost like owning a credit card company nearly. But I don't know. Like my friend had called me and said, okay, he's out of Oregon and he looks like there's an investigation or something, and the CEO, he got a hold of his number. And I cannot remember the name of the company now that I think about it. They weren't Verifone, but I think they worked with Verifone. But they sold the actual product. They were on their way to becoming an empire. Now what they would do in the morning time is they'd wake up, you would get on the phone, and it was from my landline. It wasn't from my cell phone. But I had a little HTC Merge. No, it was from my HTC Merge, right. So I'd get on the smartphone, and I had a landline too. This is back in the day. And you could get on it through the landline or the smartphone if you wanted to. And all you do is dial a number, and it was a party line. Everyone's like, yeah, I went to this motorcycle shop. The guy gave me some trouble. I put on this cowboy hat, you know, and some dip in my mouth. You know, this other guy's like, yeah, I went by this John Deere place and I put on a John Deere hat. He was selling tractors, and I put on the accent. I was like, you know, these credit card rate machines are just ridiculous, you know. But we might have something that might save you a little bit of money and trouble. And you got anything that works with Apple and Google Pay and all that kind of stuff? The guy was like, you know, people were like, well, I guess we'll sign up for new technology. That was when the NSF and things like that was becoming a necessity. They still, to this day, I don't think they have it at Walmart. They may have Tap Pay, but they do not take Apple. You cannot use Apple Pay yet. Let me know. Leave a comment. It's a golf course. It's a pretty big one right off Jacksboro Highway. Right there. So that building's pretty cool. That's the tower right there, the center one. It used to be a Bank One building, and then it got hit by a tornado, and pretty much destroyed like a lot of the windows. So they had to revamp it and just turn it into condominiums. It means you can't hear your neighbor at all, even if they scream bloody murder. They're surrounded by concrete. Condominiums are. It's all about privacy. That's why what makes it a condominium is the amount of concrete between the walls and the floor. It's just the way it is. It's like you cannot hear through that much concrete. I mean, not even a bullet could go through. You know, they're surrounded by amount of concrete. If the concrete's lessened, then it becomes an apartment rather than a condominium. You got to go up in one of those buildings and just hear how quiet and how crazy those you walk around those little doorways, you know, you can't hear a single dog bark. It's like pure silence. That's what they call a condominium. Probably more privacy than a house. Probably can't get more privacy than a condominium, maybe. There's been movies written about it. If he was waiting. Now that's a film cat right there. He heard from the other cats that I would show up to do this U-turn right here. He wants to get his little close-up. Unfortunately, I only got 3 times the zoom. True American cat right there. Full-on movie star cat. Fortunately, he's protected. He's got an owner. He's, you know, we can't really get him. We can't really hire him. I think Edmund was probably whoop his butt, though. He's a little dainty. Edmund's kind of a stocky cat. We'll be fine with Edmund for now, even though he scratches actors. We have to deal with it. Little Marlon Brando kitty. His last name is Cassavetes, so he's not supposed to be scratching anyone. But I think Cassavetes scratch their souls. Here we go. Yeah, they do more damage doing that than Marlon Brando tapping someone on the chin. Look at that little French. What is that? A French?
A fluffy Frenchie. Yeah.
Fluffy Frenchie. Friday nights at Pilates and yoga. There's Pearl Snap kolaches, and then they serve other stuff too. I think they even serve hamburgers. I have been in there. I've done a few deliveries for them back in the day. Back in the day when I was doing like favor. Sorry, the sister, not the father. Sorry, I got thrown off. Anyway, he shows up. The famous guitar player shows up at the house, and it turns out that that's the sister and the mother, and then the young writer, who is the son, is in the back room, and he walks in to talk about rock and roll to get a better interview. That even though they got stiffed from the Rolling Stones, gotta see it. It's Cameron Crowe. Anyway, the mom in Almost Famous always telling the son, don't do drugs, but yet the whole movie they're around a lot of it. Not too bad, but there's some positive aspects to the movie. Anyway, sorry I messed up the thing with the father. It's actually she ends up being the sister. Anyway, it's a pretty good story. The story is a lot about sisters and stuff. Anna Paquin's in it in Almost Famous. She plays one of the groupies, along with those other girls that help the young boy lose his virginity. I'm trying to think of all the actors that are in it. There's probably a few rock stars in it too. But it's one thing is, when I watched it, I think I cried 3 times through it. So regardless of how corny it is, it'll pull tears out of your eyes for sure. It's got like, why do I want to say Neil Simon when that's a playwright? Simon and Paul Simon. Yeah, Paul Simon. I was going to say Simon and Garfunkel. I know Neil Simon's not in it, but Paul Simon, his music is in it. Led Zeppelin, you know, I probably got Leonard Skinner, probably Simple Man is in it. Joni Mitchell's in it. She's got songs in it, like her music-wise. Elton John's got music in it. A couple of songs, The Mad Hatter, and also the other one, type. Here's a list of things while we're talking about Cameron Crowe. We can go to, I believe, just songs. None of these are really on it. I think War Pigs might be, or a version of Black Sabbath is probably listed on it. These are just some stuff. A lot of Mark Hazalik stuff is on it. Sun Kill Moon. That's some of the stuff I have now.